instead of responding to a building necessarily or a PC to log in.
So the police department has its own separate policy for take-home vehicles along?
Everybody has the same
It's
one.
still,
It's in the employee personnel.
we got the employee personnel,
Right.
and then you guys got the
Or
separate.
our own, correct, yeah,
But
I'm saying we have one that dictates specifically for us. That can be modified.
So, well, no, the employee personnel manual applies to all employees. Then police department has specialized because you guys have it's more military type organization where there are specific duties and codes of conduct that have to be put into place. And you guys carry firearms, you have use of force policies, things like that. So if you think about it, there's an umbrella that hits all employees. Then there's just another umbrella underneath the bigger umbrella that covers the police department. And so each one of those policies, you guys have more on what you have to follow than what the typical employee does.
And Chief, you don't have a take-home vehicle policy in your police manual, is that right? You guys are working off of the overall policy for everybody, okay.
So my question was, will we have, for option one, will we have, for Monday, will we have where the money's gonna come from, where we can take from?
I can look at the budget, I already have actually, and we can see where there's areas of savings,
Okay.
where there's extra revenue that takes care of the here and now. Obviously, it doesn't take care of the future, but I can definitely do that. And I already have some of it.
Yeah, so to
I
clarify,
mean, it's a never-changing thing.
option one won't be on the agenda in the open session. The way this is set up, it'll only be closed session personnel on that option, the way it's presented.
Yeah.
You'll only vote in open session on options 2 and 3.
Handling individuals closed, if you're handling department wide.
So looking at the long term, if we give one department 10% raise, would that affect the amount of money we have for the insurance that's going to come up in July, where then that money you're paying out now in hourly wages would then take away our insurance money we have, so that you would pay a higher premium? Or is there actual extra funding available where it will not touch the amount of money that the employee pays in for insurance? Because right now it costs $125 a month. One thing is, if you give them $10 or 10% raise, is the city going to have enough budget left to keep our insurance premiums the same across the board, or is our insurance costs going to go up? And something else to think about is, for a long-term benefit for someone to stay, why not bump up their retirement instead of just a one-time payment incentive? If they stay with the city, you get a bump up retirement, you have a better retirement, you have more money coming in at retirement.
You have more pay, if they're money coming in through taxes.
It only affects one department.
But these are all, he's bringing up a valid point about incentives across the board for all of our employees, citywide, because just as I put in the previous page was medical benefits for all retired employees. But on top of that, something that I know that department heads have talked about for years now is figuring out a way, hopefully someday down the line, as a huge incentive to move from L3 to L6 retirement benefits. And I know that would definitely be something that the city would have to look at, but again, those are different incentives at different times that can be looked at to make us more appealing. Because a lot of competing agencies now are offering L6 loggers versus L3.
So on yours, I actually talked to Jesse just last week about Prop M and the possibility of that funding from that, if it should pass, going into your guys' retirements to make those bigger. But I had to get in touch with Linda and I haven't yet, just there was a lot this week. So that is something I have discussed with Jesse to see, and there is no specific laws as far as where that has to go. But that would benefit the whole city that way.
My concern with the Prop M is that the education is not out there.
Correct.
People
No,
people need to know that the
I actually
tax
had
is
somebody
not
ask me
going
today what
to,
it was. And I was
it's
like,
not going to affect everyone.
correct.
In general with that, the state has specific mandates as to where the money goes. But it's like everything else with what you guys do on your budget. You guys, as the board, determine where your general fund dollars go. And you make those determinations every budget year. When you're going through things in the month of June, you're making the determination of where those funds go. So whether Prop M passes or it doesn't, you guys still control what happens to all of those funds every single budget year. And with Prop M, the reason why nothing is, I mean, there's no knowledge of what the actual amount of money that's coming through or what that would generate, because we've never had a recreational, it's not a medical, it's a recreational marijuana tax. The county has Prop M on for 3% tax, which is authorized by the statute or by the constitutional amendment. But that would be, if we have the opportunity to pass that here, we would be able to earn 3% sales tax on recreational marijuana, not medical. So as far as everything's concerned, you don't know what the financial impact of that will be. And so Linda wouldn't be able to give you guys any sort of idea of what that's going to generate in revenue.
When, now that you mentioned that, when did what date was it that the recreational went into effect?
I don't remember the exact date. There was just a line on North Lane.
I was gonna say, has anybody looked at that? And we get the tax revenue from that corporate, or from that business. So there should be some kind of increase that we could feasibly kind of get an idea.
And then those got some,
I mean, that's,
an idea.
that alone, you don't drive by that place and it's not packed. I don't care what day or night they're open, it's packed. So,
Keep in mind, they just started up and the state's just now getting taxed off of that. So do we have that data? I don't think we have any of that data right now. That's the reason why everybody's authorized it. All of the municipalities have been authorized to go ahead and put it on the ballot if their boards have authorized it to go before the voters.
I don't think we really answered Adam's question.
Yeah.
And that will definitely be a discussion depending on how the budget shakes out. If we're looking to try to balance the budget better, the board could very well change the way the setup is now. They could change it from 125 and make you pay more. That would be a board decision. At budget time, our insurance goes to the calendar year. So for the first 6 months of the new budget, we know what the costs will be. We don't from January to June, so we usually rely on our broker to give us an idea of what he thinks we're looking at based on our experience and, how many claims they've had to pay out. Based on that, if it's looking rough, that would be some place to look for a way to pay for things. So there's no guarantee that won't change ever.
There's no guarantee that the problem or Rocky Water West. Take that into account, because I heard there's a lawsuit already over the Prop M because the state has a 3%, and then the counties are trying to put a 3%, and then the municipalities are trying, and they called it something, I don't know what it was, but there is a lawsuit right now, so over it, whatever it is. So, but yeah, the retirement is a big deal. I enjoy mine.
I think that would be a great incentive.
Yeah.
Clarify. My retirement.
Raising the lottery would be a great incentive for
Yeah, I mean, there's no way we could give every city employee a car to drive home.
No,
You know,
I realize that, but seriously about the loggers though, that would be a great incentive. Because, they brought up some great points, you know, looking at the amount of turnover that they've seen. I got, looking back at my figures, 61% of my staff, less than 3 years. Less than 3 years. And I've been here over 20, and I've seen some folks retire with 30, 40 plus years. You just don't see that anymore. But we need to put something together.
right, and
It's
I'm
too
afraid
late
we're
for
gonna
me.
be facing the same thing with our public works, because I know these other municipalities, they got people retiring too, and they're trying to replace them.
They are, and I'm here too.
Yep.
So when's the board's gonna address the evergreen pay study across all departments?
I think Alderman Norman brought up a good point a while ago. You're gonna hear from the rest of the departments too. I'm not trying to.
Everybody, every
But
department.
it's just reality. It's just human nature.
And I should say, we've had people in other departments that have had offers too. It's been a tough decision, and I can tell you, even in our department, there have been people who haven't taken them, and we've been super thankful, because like I said, we know that's a tough decision. So our folks are being approached across the board. And we're just thankful that they haven't left. I think for some of them, it's the relationships or the bond that they've built, or they like the positions that they're in here, but it's happening. There are people being approached. We haven't thankfully seen anybody.
I don't want anybody to think that we're just catering to police officers. We're not. We have the whole city that we usually talk about daily, if we can, or not daily, but on our meetings, as to how we can make it fair for everybody. It's tough sitting up here.
Well, you gotta understand it's stuff on our end, being paid below fair market value for 19 years.
I agree.
Most every employee within the city.
I agree. I'm in my third year of my second term, and this has been the subject since day one of me being elected.
Yeah, we're stuck trying to figure it out.
Like I said, it wouldn't do no good to give you a raise and then you go to the bank and the check bounces.
So, yeah, just kind of piggyback what Adam's saying. I don't want you to put money in this hand and take it out of this.
Right. And I don't want to do that either.
Well, I go back when we rehabbed this city hall, we had some employees that saved the taxpayers $860,000. We didn't work ourselves. When the sewer lateral went out here a couple of years, I was in a hole over 6 foot deep, but the sewer in the city couldn't afford to hire it out. We had one public works and 3 building department out there. So it's not from dedication on our part.
Now, when you talk about the sewers, let's talk about all the kiddie toilets that are upstairs.
What about it?
Try
I just
using them,
directed from the mayor,
to try using those.
you gotta go, those would be okay used.
We have them down here too. I don't know what it was. Ours are the same size. So I don't know.
We could have our own pocket to change a few of them upstairs, just because they are what they are. 300 pounds of a pretty sick on one.
So,
That's why they have those grad bars and hold on.
so closed personnel on the agenda, and then for the other 2 items, Jesse, we're okay with the vote to move forward with policies.
Put it on, it needs to be for open, so that it can be discussed, and somebody can figure out who's gonna take this.
Let's have a sponsor to rewrite those policies, so,
Okay.
okay. All right. Anybody, nobody else has any suggestions or ideas about how this is all gonna work? I guess we'll call it a night. Adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for your time.